Morning. Today is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. Present with us is the Disaster Emergency Services Coordinator, Doug Dodge. Doug, do you want to tell us what's been going on in your department, please?
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate the opportunity. Just gave you a handout for upcoming stuff that just wanted to give you an idea of what things are looking like. I bring this to fire councils and stuff. Figured I'd bring it to you as well, just to give you an idea of what the latest guess is for the upcoming winter, which may or may not come through, but they're still thinking we could see a fairly decent winter. Is the summary of it. And then I also included towards the back of that, there's our drought conditions have improved a little bit. It's the third page, I think, that you have. Slightly a little, we did see that a little bit of the designation down on the south end of the county improved slightly. Not fantastic, but it's getting better slowly. Hopefully we get a decent winter and we'll go from there. The last item, which you might find some interest in, is so I have access to the wildfire data from DNRC, and that's where this is pulled from. So very mild wildfire season in Jefferson County, 114.87 acres is all we burned up in the county, which is a really small number. The number of fires was higher actually than last year. And last year was not normal. I mean, if I look back at the data points, we average around 120 wildfires, just number of fires. I'd have to look at I haven't done an average on the acreage, but certainly more than 114, I can tell you that. Last year, for example, and this includes all, forest or private land. Last year was just over 3,200 acres. So 114 is a very small number. Fairly consistent with between the years as far as, human cause is the greatest cause of fires. And then the land specifically that's exposed to fire, a little more this year on private property, about 60% was either county protected land or state protected land. So again, it's hard to draw too many conclusions from that small number of acreage, but just some data points you guys might find interesting. That's where we are with that. As far as operations going on in the office, currently updating the emergency operations plan. As you all know, all jurisdictions have now approved the 2025 hazard mitigation plan. The county approved that. The commissioners did, you folks did here, I don't know, a couple months ago, and now the city of Boulder and the town of Whitehall both approved it. So that's all done. So submitted to FEMA. And
sorry, what's this last map?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's the location, and that one's I just included it's not
Location of the fires.
Location of the fires, and then the size of the circle is
Side of the fire.
okay. Yeah, it's representative of the size. So the bigger the circle, the bigger the fire. It's not a great data point because it
gives you a good
gives you a visual of
10,000
stuff.
foot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Sorry.
perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Sorry
Looks
about
like
that.
a lot of them are along the interstate.
Yeah, we did have quite a few number of
Both interstates.
Yep, roadside fires. We had a fair number of roadside fires.
People parking or chains dragging.
Chains dragging generally. You can't always find a cause on some of those, but oftentimes it's chains dragging on a lot of those. Few of them were catalytic converters that we were able to find the components to that. But and then of course in the south end of the county, we've had some intentional sets that still unable to find the individual responsible, but we had 3 in Gallatin County, had 5, I think. And then it just kind of stopped once the weather came. So gonna be holding my breath on that over next spring. But very tied in with all our cooperating agencies, and everybody's aware of what to look for. So that's all we can do, I think. Anyway, other operations going on, emergency operations plan, that's a big plan update that I originally did myself, and I'm redoing it myself again and looking back at the stuff saying, why did I do it that way? I want to do it this way.
It's not always that.
Yeah. So that's going to be an ongoing project, but because that's a big plan, but it needs to be updated. let's see, and then we also, I have a bunch of other plans in the hopper, the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. We need to update some risk mapping. We originally did that in cooperation with the Rocky Mountain Research Station out in Bozeman. That option is not available to us anymore just because of the way they've changed with the staffing of federal agencies. And that's not anything recent, it's just over time it's changed. So we're gonna have to develop a different risk rating map. I've reached out to DNRC and they have a statewide risk rating map, but they don't have the budget to redo that. So theirs is a little older than ours is. So right now ours is decently fresh, but I'd still like to see some better data. But anyway, I don't mean to go too far into the weeds. If you guys want to talk about it, I'm happy to, but that's just one of the little thorns that I'm dealing with on that plan update. We of course will annually update our regional wildfire pre-plan. Welcome to come to that when we have that. I try to host that it was originally the South Hills pre-plan that you'll recall. I've rewritten that over the years, and we include 4 different counties in that conversation and invite everybody in the spring to come visit about that. It's kind of the almost a spring kickoff meeting for response agencies, right? Then we also have the elected officials workshop that we'll do every year. So that'll be on the horizon. As far as training and whatnot goes, still doing our annual hazmat refreshers that I do with all the fire departments. Be working through those this winter. As we have the opportunity where we'll go wherever they need us to. If they come here or I go to them, happy to do that. Also working closely with LaDana, kind of wrapped up. She's done a great job on getting the growth plan and the subdivision regulations. That's a huge project that's been going on for a while. And I was able to provide myself and some of the folks from the Fire Council able to provide information on that. So you should see some of those notes. We did have some recommendations. The grant side of things, that's the biggest matzo ball that's out there, still huge unknown for everything that's going on. All reimbursements right now are on hold because of the federal shutdown. So even if we did get reimbursements, those are all on hold until they decide what they're doing out there. The EMPG, the one that funds my office, is about to the tune of not quite $20,000 a year. They've changed that to a 1-year period of performance, which that impacts us in that all counties in that it previously was a 3-year period of performance. We get reimbursement for that first quarter, and back in 2013, I want to say it was right after I started, they changed it to the fiscal year to match state fiscal year to match county fiscal year, not federal fiscal year. Well, because of that, with this 1-year period of performance at the federal level, now we have to switch back to the 1-year period of performance, but that leaves a gap of that 1 quarter where they're not going to provide reimbursement, which is about $5,000. So I can't, in the last quarter, essentially, right now, they're appealing all of this. Again, nothing set in stone, but I try to be the bearer of bad news first, and then if we come good news, we'll take it. But right now, we're not going to get that $5,000. Then, of course, the remainder of that EMPG will be reimbursed, but again, it's going to be offset from our fiscal year. So there's going to be some accounting issues that we'll have to deal with Ginger. But
Is she aware of that?
she is, yep. She was, I included her on that information, and we'll have to, it's going to be, part of it, I don't want to have her do extra work though, until we have a better idea of exactly what's going to happen. So at this point, it's still just a big question mark, in my opinion. Homeland Security grant, our grant from last year is not impacted, but I do know that current year awards, which we did not get this year, they're not even being awarded right now. So everything is on hold because there's lawsuits involved from other states and stuff about how Homeland Security funding is operating. I think that's going to change fairly substantially in the future. I think it's going to require a match, whereas previously it didn't require a match, which that'll change the ball game on a lot of this stuff. So anyway, that again is something that we just don't know. One of the bigger concerns from our perspective, obviously the day-to-day operations, but one of my biggest concerns, and this is something that I'm working with the state with, in fact, I have a meeting with them this afternoon, is when the bad day happens, when we have to go through recovery. Thankfully, Jefferson County hasn't had to experience a ton of that, but it's a much different now, from what I understand, than it ever has been. That we're gonna have to be reliant more on ourselves and our partners to manage stuff, and the funding isn't gonna be there because the levels that the trigger points for when funding is available is gonna be substantially higher. So even in the past, we were able to get a few things. I want to say that 2011 flooding, we got a little money. There was, I think, 2014 or something, we also saw some county infrastructure damage that we ended up getting. We're part of a declaration where we got some funding, but those types of things are not going to be as available. And so that really concerns me, how that's going to happen in the future. Of course, nobody knows what that dollar amount is right now. There's proposals out there. And everything that I've seen, it's 3 or 4 times higher, the levels of what is available. So that's just something that needs to be on our radar. Management wise, I feel like that's one of the important parts of us working with our neighbors and being able to rely on others for help when we have bad days, and for us helping others when they have bad days. But it always comes down to dollars and cents too, and that's going to be a struggle, right? It's been a long time since we've had to institute the emergency mill levy. That I could definitely see coming into play if we have a bad year, and that probably won't even be enough to fix some of the issues that we may have. So don't like being the bearer of bad news, but that is something that we just need to be aware of. On all of these issues that I've just mentioned, I know Mako has been, I'm the president of the Emergency Management Association. We had our conference 2 weeks ago, and they did indicate, the state DES indicated that Mako is going to be reaching out to the commissioners about some of these issues specifically. So if you haven't heard about it already, other than from me, you're going to be hearing more details from Mako. So I just want to make sure that you're on board with that. In regards to that, I am meeting with the division administrator and supposedly the lieutenant governor at the end of this week to talk about some of these issues specifically, because the state's going to have a larger role in helping us, and we're going to need that help, especially when we have bad days. Anyway, that's the bad news on the grant and management cycle. On the positive side, we did get the volunteer fire capacity grant. That's the one, the VFC grant that we get annually for the fire departments that we administer. It's not a huge grant, but that was one that was on hold many times this last year. Weren't sure. I'm frankly a little bit surprised that we're seeing it again, but it was funded, so that's a good thing. Maybe it gives me a slimmer of optimism for the future for how the rest of it goes. We'll see. Not a huge number, but anyway, just for the good of the order, the other kind of summary stuff I have, I don't think I've been in front of you since Headwaters. I can't remember if we have or not, but regardless, that was in July. Busy, obviously went well. We had, from our perspective, I think it went well. We did have 3 life flights out of there. I still need to work with Steve. He ran out of time to get that new contract developed. I still think that's super important. I know it's fairly close to being done, and I plan on bugging him some more about that, because that's obviously been a strong priority of mine to try to get that cleaned up for county liability or purposes primarily. Other stuff that's going on, obviously the wildfire investigations in Gallatin County. I did some post-fire flood research. I had the University of Oregon actually called me and asked me for post-fire flood research information. So that was kind of fun. I'd never participated in a research thing, so that was kind of cool. And then the other bragging point I have is Montana DNRC awarded me the Cooperator of the Year award for this last year. So I was I went to the state fire chiefs and they said, "Oh, you got to come to this dinner." And I don't really want to go to the dinner, but I went and they gave me that award. So that was pretty cool.
Plays well with others.
So yeah, right. The other project that we will be talking about is the co-op agreement that we discussed previously. I think I remember mentioning that. It's something that we signed last time it was signed, I think was 2014. But there's some legal catches in there in the fine print that we need to make some agreements, in my opinion, with the local fire districts, which I've talked to them about briefly. And I won't go into the details on that too specifically today unless you have questions, but it should be on your horizon for something that we really should, again, a liability and responsibility issue that we probably need to deal with.
When does that contract come due again?
I asked him when he needs it signed, and I know that we will need to move forward with signing it. We're not gonna have those agreements, I don't think, with the fire departments, just knowing Steve's schedule until later. And every county is like, my understanding is every county is essentially, yeah, it's paperwork, we sign it, and they don't think about it. But there's some legal stuff in there that could trip us, in my opinion, not an attorney, but at the same time, it's stuff that I think we need to protect ourselves from. And that's where that agreement plays in. So I'll probably bring that forward to you guys and request that be signed in advance of creating these agreements with the fire departments. I think it's important enough to have that in place, because this is what enables the DNRC to come and help us and provide this equipment to the departments. And that's not something that we can have lapse. I asked for a specific deadline to answer your question, and he said he just wanted it done this winter. So in the next couple of months, I'll be bringing that forward. I'm hoping for you guys to consider. That's one point that I was gonna ask Steve about, but I'll keep you updated on that. The other thing that's going on, the CAD mapping project, and this is related, the reason I bring it up is it's related to the co-op agreement, is there's a lot of areas in the county that are unprotected, it's county protected land, private land outside of fire districts. I've done some of the CAD mapping with regard to that, so it's clearly identified in the CAD map. And for fire departments to know that they're responding to essentially mutual aid, right? That's part of the reason that we had to do my appointment as the county, or have that position, the county rural fire chief, is over those lands that are unprotected, that falls on actually the county commissioners to protect, in which you've delegated to the county rural fire chief. And my role is essentially asking mutual aid to respond to all of those locations. Regardless, there's some mapping issues involved with that. And that's been a project that we're close to finishing up, and working with Melissa. She's been doing some good work for me on that. And then I already mentioned the event contract. A couple of other items I did want to bring to your attention. I have mentioned this at the last couple of fire councils, as far as debris burning, and the opportunity for maybe just setting a deadline and saying July 1, we're going to close it every year. Of course, it's ultimately up to the fire districts themselves to hopefully agree on that. But I wanted you guys to be aware of that as well. I think in the last 10 years, I can't think of a summer where we didn't close within that first week of July. If you haven't finished burning by the 1st of July, your debris stuff, it doesn't impact campfires. Campfires are not related. It's just that slash pile stuff. If you haven't done that by July, I'm thinking it probably wouldn't hurt for us to just have a set deadline. Hey, we're going to close it this time. We'll reopen it based on conditions. That, again, ultimately up to the fire chiefs agreeing to that, because it's their fire districts, but I just want that and if you have input one way or the other on that, just, I'd
How
love
does
to
that
hear.
work if it's dry before that? We can close.
We can close it before that, right?
Okay.
But we would close no later than, it would be a firm date in July. We're gonna close every year on July 1. Unless conditions warrant closing earlier. And then, of course, we can reopen I don't like setting a specific reopen date.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
conditions based.
Yeah.
Because like this year, we were into October before we reopened, just because the conditions were so dry. Some summers, it's gonna be September 1, and we're gonna have a foot of snow on the ground, so.
And we're not in a team with the federal agencies, because they don't have a debris burning.
They don't, yep, that's a separate component. That's
That's
the
restrictions.
stage restrictions,
Yeah.
and that goes into the conference call that I do weekly during
Yeah.
the summer, where I bug you guys, and that is a commissioner decision. When we go into stage 1 or stage 2 restrictions, where the areas over which we have authority, which is the private land, you could, and it comes from that resolution that you set at the beginning of the year for the burning season. It sets the burning season, which I will be submitting a request to Steve to get to you guys here in the next month. Actually, I like to try to do that before the calendar year.
Yep.
So anyway, if you have input on that, I'd love to hear it. I'm working on the basin repeater site. I appreciated that lead on that. I've got Tom Dunn working on getting us some numbers. The biggest number there, the biggest concern I think is gonna be, and this is gonna be a decision between you guys and the sheriff, is whether the cost of the primary cost, I think, is gonna be the rent for the tower itself, space on the tower. It's American Tower. I don't know what they're gonna charge, but Tom Dunn wanted to have a package of, this is what we're gonna do there, this is how much space we're gonna need, and the footprint, before we just asked him for a price, and so he's working that up. I still haven't gotten it from him
You
yet.
checking to see how much better, if at all, the coverage will be.
The coverage is definitely better there. He still has that data from when you guys did that. And he was, and you probably remember this better than I, that was.
I don't know.
Oh. Well, they did a study, you
Yeah.
guys did a
I
study of
remember
that.
us doing the
Yeah,
study.
and it's definitely better there especially for the town of Basin. Now, it's not gonna supplant, there's that Jack Mountain site, which is still a great site, but they complement each other well down there. So I think it's gonna be a great thing. The question is how expensive it's gonna be, just like anything else. So, I do appreciate you working with the OT mine site, wherever we're calling it, the art mine.
Irvine.
Um,
That was
so-
signed this morning, but.
oh, great. So I'm sure she appreciates that. And from my perspective, I appreciate not having those matzo balls hanging out there. So anyway, so
Did
that's,
you get a hold of that landowner then?
I did talk to him and
Okay.
told him that we were working through the process. He was very, I talked to him before, because Tom Dunn and I went up there to, survey it, and so he could figure out whatever he needs to figure out. And I, of course, just went up there for situational awareness to see what
Was
it's like.
he okay of maybe signing an agreement to allow us access?
Oh,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that?
he was,
fine with all that?
yeah, very sounded very open. Of course,
Okay.
the devil's always in the details, but he
Yeah.
seemed, very welcoming and happy to work with us. So, so really we'll see when we get to that point. But Tom Dunn suggested that we first get the pricing from the tower first because he said that could be the one price hurdle that we have to deal with. There's power that's already there, obviously, and running the installation is, if it goes as Tom suggested, it looks like it's pretty simple. There's an empty pad right there that he could put stuff on, so it's about as plug and play as you can get. So there's obviously some expensive moving stuff, but it's that tower lease that we'll have to determine.
Do you think
Um,
it's gonna be different than the other American Tower leases we have? or-
I do, especially the one that we have on the north end is a really good deal.
And
And
It's old.
there's a lot of factors that play in with that
Oh, okay.
tower site up there, more than just the tower itself. I think Jefferson County owns part of the building. I think we own a
Right.
propane tank. We don't put
Okay.
propane in it usually. It's a BLM site. So,
It's kind of a partnership deal. It's,
Yeah,
it's not
it's-
all the towers.
and it started out that way clear back in, boy, I wanna say early nineties, middle
Mhm.
nineties.
Okay.
And it was actually, we hold a access to it and a lot of
Mhm.
things. So it's quite a bit different.
Okay.
it is, and so we'll see. Don't know till you know. So we'll find out. I just
So
hope they don't.
And that's why I asked about the coverage, because if it's significantly better
And it is,
for all
Yeah.
of the departments,
yeah. No, there's no question, and we would move both 2618 and I know up there, and at some point you could even put a trunking tower on there just because of what you could see if you needed to, but
Yeah.
regardless, it's a great site.
We'll
So,
be- I'll be interested to see what it's gonna cost because
Yeah.
the Basin TV is struggling with, cause they need site access to this tower up here.
oh,
And I think they're using Cragen's property now,
interesting.
just kind of using it.
Right.
Contract. So they're kind of
Trying to
a
figure
shirt
that
sleeve
out too.
agreement where if we could get
Sure.
on a tower and get it set in stone for them to be able to get a bounce off this tower down to there to get their
Right,
TV broadcast would be nice. So, if it's an
Interesting.
affordable thing, but if it's not, then they're not gonna be able
yeah,
to do it.
I don't know the answer to that question, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll let Tom Dunn know that, because if it's more, I don't know if they
And maybe
give
he
us a
could
package deal or something, you
look
know.
at it, yeah, it'd be nice. 'Cause
I
they
don't know
were-
how big of a footprint they need as far as hang stuff to hang on the tower,
But
but
not much for hanging. They
Okay.
might need a little place up there to put their equipment, but
yeah, okay.
a little shack or, I mean, maybe.
I'll mention that to
Partner,
them.
I don't know what you're gonna build up there for our stuff, but
Right. Okay, so that is that, and then just upcoming stuff, middle of next month, next month, it's already almost here.
yeah.
Um,
Saturday?
I am going to, and I went last year too, and this is, I just take vacation and go, but the International Association of Emergency Managers, I've gone to that. It's an incredible experience. It's a national, conference that I go to. Went last year for the first time and I'm like, I'm doing this again. And I do it on my own. It's not office related. I just take vacation time and do it because it's kind of expensive, but it's an incredible experience. But I am gonna be out of the office. And then I have 2 trainings at the beginning of December where I'm gonna be out of the office. And then I do actually have a real vacation at the end of January. that I am gonna take. So anyway, that's kind of, that's I've only taken up 25 of my 30 minutes, so I didn't give you guys very much time to ask me questions.
We don't have anybody after you, so we got all.
Okay.
So you can relax.
I tried to talk fast, cause knowing that.
You're it this morning.
Where's your
So-
national conference at?
Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah, last year it was in Colorado, and so it was, I figured, oh, I've always been, I mean, it's one of those national associations, you have to be kind of an emergency management nerd to like it, but you go and it's just, national level presentations and information, and I've incorporated some of that stuff into some of our planning stuff, and from a professional development experience, it's just like, this is the stuff, so. it's
Your
pretty
state emergency management association won't pay for some of that? I mean, that's.
We've talked about that. I feel a little bit awkward as president asking for that. I've thought about actually saying, well, because I've done 2 terms as vice president, 2 terms as president, and we don't have term limits, but it's somebody else's term. You gotta let, I think that's healthy for an organization. You can't have somebody do the same thing all the time, so.
Because that's what Mako does. I mean, they pay for
Right.
people to go to their.
And that's what I was gonna
Stuff.
propose that for the
Yeah.
next person,
Yeah.
whoever that is, because it's an incredibly valuable experience and um, as far as I know, the last year, Brett Lloyd went from the state and he'd never been before. I met him out there but I don't know of anybody from Montana that's ever gone. I'm sure it probably has occurred in the past, but I'm just not aware of, but it's a pretty incredible experience, and you get to meet, I'm part of some caucuses, so, the State Emergency Management Caucus, so I see what other state emergency management organizations are dealing with, and they're on a lot of the same issues that we are, especially in rural states, so. And just the networking, being able to get to know some people that are in your profession, and obviously most of us in Montana are 1-person shops, and so it is important for us to get together for our statewide, but then being able to see how the rest of the world does it, and you get people from all over the world coming to this.
Nice.
It's a pretty cool experience, so it's very valuable to me personally, so that's why I'm just gonna go. So, but I do like that idea. I think, I am thinking of requesting out of the association to send at least one person, the president, and then maybe, cause we do a emergency manager of the year or something like that. Be fun to be able to send that give them something besides just a plaque. So,
Yeah, I don't know how much room you've got in your travel budget, but I mean, I would be okay with you charging
Oh,
something to it if you.
I appreciate that.
Meals or Whatever.
I appreciate that, but I know how it is, and I don't wanna abuse that, and I need it frankly, for being able to do other stuff here too, so it's just, for me, it's personally enriching, and it's professional opportunity. I appreciate that, and it's just one of those things that you balance in your budget, and I'm in a position where I'm able to do that. So.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I just wouldn't be shy of charging some of that stuff off to the county because
Yeah.
you
No, I
are,
appreciate
you are
that.
bettering yourself for your
It
job.
certainly, it benefits you, but it benefits the whole county. And
Well, I
Everybody
appreciate
else.
that. I appreciate that. And I'll look at it. I I'm kind of a tightwad, so.
I get you in trouble sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. But regardless, I appreciate that. I'll take a look at it, but. Budget wise, I feel I'm in pretty good shape. We did get our reimbursement from my fire assignment from Montana DNR. We talked about that. I think it was about 10 grand that just came through last week, I think, for my fire assignment this summer. That helps. You know, it's a vacancy savings, and then I'm gonna use the little bit of extra we get for any maintenance items that come up or whatever through the year. So anyway, it's a great opportunity. We didn't have a ton of, I wasn't able to go. They actually went back to Windy Rock. They did 2 assignments over there, but that was the week I had to go out to Oregon. So, they spent the 2 weeks, and then they also went to, they asked me, but I was at the MEMA conference, to go over to Deer Lodge, because they were dealing with, they brought the team, a short team in, like there was just a few of us that were gonna go to deal with the prison. So, because the prison provides all those food, including to here,
Yeah.
and they can't do that without water. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's a whole nother train wreck. So, yeah. So, anyway, well, I think I don't think I've talked to you since we had the incident over here. I thought that went as well as can be expected. I was a little nervous about all that with, you know, with all the moving parts, and wishing that you had, when you have federal and state agencies coming in, they don't, in my opinion, and you saw that in Anaconda as well, when I went down there to help. The coordination is very limited, I'll put it that way, and can be super frustrating from a planning perspective. There's ways around it, and I think we did as best as we could, and thankfully it went fairly smoothly, but frankly, good experience, I guess, if nothing else, and hopefully we didn't freak too many people. But used a lot of our tools. Nothing, it's good practice for using our tools. So.
Yeah.
My phone blew up a little bit. Do you know
I
what's
bet it
going
did.
on? I do, but I'm not gonna tell you.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to
I do
do,
know.
right? That's a hard thing to do. So,
It is tough.
any questions or anything else for you guys? I appreciate you guys prioritizing, giving me a little bit of time to come yak at you. So, I'd like to keep it up.
Appreciate the update.
Thank you for what you
Yeah.
do.
If you have,
Appreciate
I
it.
mean, as always, call me if you have questions.
I like,
Anytime.
I like you have that truck, cause I can keep track of you. I see you
That's
here
right.
and there and moving
Yeah,
back and
that's
forth.
right. That's some people, hey, I saw you there. I'm like, I didn't.
It's easy to spot you now.
Yep. No, I really appreciate that, because it's, I mean, for a lot of different reasons, but that's been a tremendous asset
Yeah.
to have, and
No, absolutely.
have half my toys in there that I use for, and you could just throw it out there and set it up and be ready to rumble.
Makes a big difference.
How many miles you got on him?
It's about 50,000, I want to say. My only concern, and I need to talk to, it has that same exhaust sound. I'm assuming that's an exhaust leak that all the Dodge Rams get. I remember
Heard one this morning,
the
running.
ticking, yeah, is that, you get that too? And
Oh, yeah, almost every Dodge I've got's got that.
yeah, so I'm
Sounds
not,
like a lifter, but it's an
Right.
exhaust. leak.
exactly. I'm assuming that's, I mean, it's the same as everybody else. I've had it over to, I haven't had a, I mean, the shop does all my maintenance on it,
yeah.
so it's been going good, so.
Good rig.
So, no, it's fantastic. Yep, I really appreciate it. So anyway, I think that's all I have. Oh, I suppose I should mention, we did, and I think we may have talked about this, but the severity staffing that the DNRC had this summer, that went really well. Having those departments, Montana City and Whitehall be able to do that. They're both those departments were excited to do it. And I think some members of other departments created some interest. So even if they don't expand it, which I don't think they will, 2 departments is about, I would think they wouldn't add any more, but they certainly could add staff from any of the other departments if they signed up, and they could go down and take a shift or something.
Yep.
Which would be a good opportunity. And then the other thing I did is went up to Ash Grove actually yesterday morning and I tried to do my tours of some of these facilities that could have impacts in the county, and it's been a long time since I've been to Ash Grove, and that's a pretty cool facility. If you haven't been in there, for a
I
while,
talked to
it's-
Doug. I missed when they did the tour, but,
Yeah,
because we had a meeting that day, but he told me to get a hold of him and
Yep.
we can go up and do a tour, so.
yeah,
This one?
has it been a while since you've been in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Have you ever been in there?
I've been in the office part of it, but I've
Oh.
never been in the facility.
It's pretty cool, but it's pretty impressive. I mean, it's
I'll let you know if we can come up with a date.
Yeah, if he does a tour, I'd love to go through there.
yeah, it's a wet kiln. I know that he was fairly doubtful that as far as that, I know they talked about that expansion a while back, several years back, and I don't think that's gonna happen, but just, I mean, it's an impressive amount of, equipment in there, heavy, big stuff that
Yeah.
is,
Well, they got the wash station up and running, so that helps us immensely
yeah.
coming out on the
Oh, right.
Music Jackson
Jackson
Creek.
Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the pit.
Oh, gotcha. And they work with, from what I understand, work pretty well with the school as far as timing of their trucks and all that. So there's 80 trucks that come in there every day.
No,
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's not a small amount of traffic.
no,
So,
no, they do great. You hear very little about those guys.
yeah, and that's it's just like, well, you like going down to the mine, down in Whitehall, that's kind of out of sight, out of mind, but you go in there and it's pretty incredible operations, just the way they work from an interest standpoint.
And they're great stewards of the community. I mean, they.
Oh, absolutely.
Pour into the communities. It's-
Yep. And totally, I mean, he's great to work with. I've had that experience with all of the
Yep.
reps that I've worked with at both, at the mine, at Ash Grove, wherever. They've always been come and we'll visit, we'll take as much time as you want, and just super helpful and welcoming. So, and if we have issues, like they had that little, it's because they use ammonia for the emissions
Mhm.
process.
They had a
They,
couple of releases.
yeah, they had a couple of releases and they were very upfront about it and very clear about, this is what happened, this is why it happened, this is what we did to fix it. And, not a substantial deal, but still something it's important for all of us to be aware. So
Yep.
anyway, that was a pretty cool experience. If you have an opportunity to go up there and do that, I strongly recommend it, because especially when you're walking under that huge kiln and you're like, holy smokes, this thing is big.
Don't tell you, a hard hat's not gonna help you.
No, exactly. Yeah, so you're like, why am I wearing that?
Yeah.
But the heat that comes off of that thing, if I was working in the winter, that's where I'd want to be.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I've never been that close to that before. So, well, last time I was there, they didn't take me up into that. So that was pretty cool. Anyway. Well, with that said,
Perfect.
I have another meeting at 11, so. I will go do
Thank
that.
you, Doug.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Appreciate your good work, Doug.
thanks you guys. Thanks for all you do. As you do,
Same as
appreciate
you.
it. Hope you're keeping your sanity
We'll try it.
through all of it.
You as well.
All we can do is
That's
try,
exactly
right?
right, day by day. We're gonna be
See you,
adjourned.
Doug.
Or did you already adjourn? You already adjourned.
I didn't adjourn yet.
Oh.
You be adjourned, huh?
Yes, sir. Thank you.